Hello, everybody. It is me, Knight, and I just got finished watching Extreme Rules, the pay-per-view, and I have to admit it was better than Payback. So much better. I think the matches just looked and acted a whole lot better than Payback's pay-per-view matches. Overall, I just enjoyed it much more. The matches just felt much more fluid. That being said, there was some boring parts. It wasn't perfect. So let's begin. We have the kickoff match. Corbin versus Ziggler. Or Ziggles, or what do you want to call him. It's Dolph Ziggler. Remember, like, Payback had Ziggler beat Corbin in the kickoff show back then. And this one, they had Corbin win. Now, Corbin won defiantly, as he should. Although this match really didn't belong. They just made it a no DQ match, and they put over Corbin to be a heel. He essentially won it by elbowing Ziggler into the nuts and hit him with end of days. It was nothing special. And that's how a kickoff show should be. If you're going to have a match in there, it should not be special. It should not overthrow everything else in the other show. And it didn't. It was just an average match. That's what I'll say. But yeah, Corbin won and clean because it was a no DQ match. So you can't count the elbow into the nuts or anything like that against him. We move on to the actual show. We have the club of Gallows and Anderson versus the Usos. I didn't watch this match. Why? Well, I don't really care about the Usos. There was a time when I did. I'm not saying that the Usos are bad. It's just that they're boring. And they remind me a lot of Roman Reigns now. It's too much of the same shtick that they have, and finally they lost. They lost tonight against the club, and deservingly so, because they're no longer over. They were at one time over, but they have not been over this year, and it's about time we get some of the newer tag teams up the card. So it's great to see the club winning. That being said, was the match okay? I wouldn't know. I think the reason I skipped the match was because I had no interest in seeing the Usos and the club. I don't know much about Gallows and Anderson's chemistry as a tag team. Mainly because all I know about them is that they were part of the Bullet Club in Japan. And whatever other promotions they were part of. That's all I really know, and that they're good friends with AJ Styles. So we move on. Rusev versus Kalisto. I don't think anybody gave Kalisto a chance in the first place. Rusev won clean. Although, there was nothing that said that this wasn't a disqualification match, an Extreme Rules match, or anything like that. Which, to me, means Rusev should have got DQ'd at one point. And what I mean by that is that at one point, and it was near the end, it was actually the finish, he knocked Kalisto down from the top rope to the edge of the canvas near the sign that they have now on the ring apron, and Kalisto could not move and was seeking medical attention. Like, it looked like it really hurt, and the ref was pushing him back. Now, in my experience of watching in the history of disqualifications, if the ref tells the guy to get the fuck out of the way so they could check up on his opponent, and the guy doesn't, that calls for a DQ on that guy. And that's what Rusev did. He just did it. Now, given the pay-per-view is called Extreme Rules, I think we can let it go. But I still feel like Rusev should have been disqualified at that point, but he wasn't. They gave him leniency, and Rusev hit the accolade and nearly broke Kalisto in half with it. So, yeah. Kalisto's probably injured. At least kayfabe injured, if anything. We have a new U.S. champ. Really don't care about the U.S. division. I haven't cared about it since John Cena dropped the title. And the reason I haven't cared about it since John Cena dropped the title is because the only thing that Cena did, and he did it right, was he put that constantly putting it on the line. I don't know how many title defenses he had until he lost it, but he had about maybe 30 matches just any given point putting that title on the line. So it sucks that we don't have that no more. So what are we going to do? You know? That being said, it was a good match. For the most part, Kalisto did have some up. There was times where Kalisto almost had Rusev on the edge, but Rusev was just too big of an opponent. So Rusev's now U.S. champ, and it feels like over a year ago now. So we move on. The next match was the Tag Team Championship match. New Day, who had Xavier Woods and Big E be the people that would defend him. Kofi Kingston was sit out ringside. Versus the Vaudevillains. And at one point, this match could have been match of the night. I'll get to who was, really. And it was really, really good. It went back and forth pretty damn well. But there was a point where the Vaudevillains had the opportunity to win, and that's when they knocked out Big E. They hit him they basically threw him into the steel steps. They took out Kofi Kingston so he wouldn't interfere, and they got Xavier Woods, took him to their corner, which was the opposite end to where everybody else was, hit the Whirly Dervish, and Xavier Woods kicked out just last second. With the referee distracted, Kofi Kingston got up, did a little bit of interference, and the New Day won. They retained the titles. Now, was that the right decision? I think so. I don't think the Vaudevillains are ready for that title yet. They just came in. It'll be too early for them to give them that big of a push. And to be all realistic, this is also around the time when Enzo and Big Cass have who are really big, they need to have that money match. Because, honestly, Enzo and Cass are the better team to go after the New Day. It makes so much sense for that. And so I think the WWE creative is seeing that, and they want to save that. So we'll probably see that. I don't know if it'll be next pay-per-view, but at least in a couple of months at the very least, if anything. But I don't know if it depends on how Enzo's doing. I don't know what he suffered. I know he suffered a bad concussion. That's why he's been out so long so far. As my dog is messing with my cat. Luna, go lay down. Go lay down. Thank you. Fucking. It's a problem having animals. Next was oh yeah, I gotta. What was the finish? I'm trying to remember the finish to that tag team match. I think it was just Enzo hit his finisher, and that's how they won. I don't remember how it went because it got faded by the next match, which was match of the night, which was the Fatal 4-Way: The Miz, Cesaro, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn going for the Intercontinental title. And this match was indeed match of the night. It was long, as it should be, because you had four guys in there. They all had to hit their finishers at one point in this match. Usually that's a rule. But my God, it was so good. I can't remember every single detail. This is a match that I really don't want to spoil anyway. I think you guys need to go see it for yourself if you haven't already. I will tell you who won, and I'll tell you what the finish was. Miz tried to hit Cesaro with a move. I think he was charging at him. Cesaro dodged the Miz, which he didn't see Sami Zayn run behind the Miz, which allowed the Haluva kick hit Cesaro. He covered Cesaro. 1-2 gets pulled out by Owens, and instead of going back into the ring, stop Cesaro, he went right after Owens, beating the crap out of him. which gave The Miz time to go cover Cesaro 1, 2, 3. So Miz retained the championship, which, by the way, why? At the very least, if you're going to give the Intercontinental title to anybody, it would be Cesaro. I don't think Sami Zayn is ready for that championship yet, in terms of the main roster. And Cesaro's put in enough years where he kind of deserves a championship push like that. And to actually hold gold for a little bit. I mean, The Miz has held it, what is this, 5th time run as Intercontinental title, and he doesn't really deserve to have this anymore. He's kind of gone stale. Not his fault, it's just he's not very entertaining. And then especially with the recent loss of Cody Rhodes or Stardust, with him being released as of today, it really kind of hurts the Intercontinental United States title pushes there. They're losing some of their mid-card, and can't do anything about that. I think they have too much in their roster right now that they could really use a brand split. Like, they have a lot of players in there, especially with NXT. They're bringing in more people for that. And in the upcoming, Cruiserweight Championship tournament thing that's coming up soon, they're going to have a lot of people being in that one. I don't know if they're planning to give them a contract if they win it, or give certain ones a contract, or what. I don't know. They're doing something with it to see who is the best cruiserweight in the world. That being said, let's get back to what is on tonight. So it was match of the night, and I implore you, because I don't want to say any other details besides the finish, to go watch it. It was really, really good, and deservingly so. The next match we had was the Asylum Cage match, which they aptly named Ambrose Asylum match. I don't know why they called it that. I get that Dean Ambrose created the match, but it doesn't make sense to name it after his own talk show that he had not that long ago. It just was weird. So, Ambrose versus Jericho. This seemed like a match that this is probably going to be Jericho's last match for a little while. He might go back on hiatus. I don't know. Depends on what's going on. A lot of people are speculating that right now. But the match was a little long. It was, I would say, in terms of what it was, it had the product, it had the reason to be a good match. Especially putting Ambrose in something like that, where it's kind of home field advantage for him, was a good thing. The problem was it was too long. It was kind of boring at points where nothing was really happening. I don't know if that's because the chemistry between Jericho and Ambrose wasn't there tonight. I mean, I could understand if there was an off night between the two, or if they were trying to pad it so they could fill in the time hours. And if that's the case, just throw in another match, in the entire night card, just do something like that. Like maybe put a number 1 contenders match in there, which we haven't seen in a long time on a pay-per-view, of all things, Anyway, Ambrose did a lot of... he used nunchucks at one point, and he used a mop, because they had a mop. The only thing, I think there was only one item out of that entire thing that they didn't use, and it just happened to be the potted plant. They used the cage a lot. Jericho tried to escape multiple times, but this match requires that you cannot escape the match at all. Which, if that's the fucking case, why is the top not sealed? Make it a freaking, I don't know, Hell in a Cell style design instead of just this steel cage design, and painted it black. Let's see, what else did they do? At one point, like near the finish, Ambrose found, there was a bucket. It was next to the mop. Now, everybody thought the bucket was going with the mop. Apparently it wasn't. And the bucket apparently had something in it. No one could see it at first until the camera zoomed in to when Ambrose had it, and he pulled out a bag, a velvet bag. Usually that means it's thumbtacks. And that's what it was. Thumbtacks. And they were really teasing that for a little bit. After Ambrose spread out the thumbtacks, Jericho and him were teasing getting over to the thumbtacks a little bit for the match, but then it just kind of stopped. Next thing you know, Ambrose gets blindsided, and Jericho takes the 2x4 covered with barbed wire and hits Ambrose not in the stomach, but also in the back, and then back into the stomach. And then he was going to set him up for the code breaker, which Ambrose countered by grabbing hold of him, which is a typical counter to that move, and slamming him into the thumbtacks. He then managed to get Jericho over and went headfirst into the thumbtacks with Dirty Deeds. 1, 2, 3, Ambrose wins, which he should if it's his match. It's the same thing like Undertaker having the Hell in a Cell style match, or the casket match, or the Buried Alive. Although, I don't think Undertaker's ever won a Buried Alive match. I'll have to check my history on that one. I know that I know he lost the first Hell in a Cell match to Shawn Michaels, but he won ever since until Brock Lesnar kind of ended that streak. But yeah, that was pretty much it. It was just it was a long and boring match, and it shouldn't have been. The writing on the wall, if you wrote that down, it would have been a great match. It was just too long. And I think a lot of that is because there was too many weapons to choose. That and the way that Jericho was acting, trying to escape instead of rather going after the weapons, really does kind of hurt that. So there you go. We're gonna move on. The next match, I believe, was the women's title match. Ric Flair is banned from ringside, and it's a submission match. This match was good. I didn't see any botches. I know I was checking Twitter and stuff like that while I was watching it, because I really don't care about the women's division. Not saying that they don't have good wrestlers. I know Charlotte's good. I know Becky Lynch is good. I know Sasha Banks is good, although currently she got injured. And I know they got some other up-and-coming wrestlers coming from NXT that are also good. And then they also have some of their veterans, which is Natalya. But my only problem is that I didn't really care about this match. And the reason I didn't care is that I knew how it was going to end. And this is kind of the reason why I hated the Payback version. Payback did theirs with the Montreal Screwjob style, which fucking sucked. It was a weaker version of it, and they just kind of said, oh, referee Charles Robinson was Little Nate. He was good friends with the Nature Boy Ric Flair back in the day. It made sense for him to do this kind of feel. And then now we have the repeat. Like years later, they had that Montreal Screwjob redo. You know, and it just, it sucked. It was a bad finish. So now we're getting to this, and the finish is going to end up the same. It wasn't like it was the Montreal Screwjob style, but I had a feeling once they said Ric Flair was banned from ringside that they were going to add something to it. And they did. They had a distraction with Ric Flair's music with somebody dressed up as Ric Flair in the Nature Boy outfit, which turned out to be Dana Brooke, which has no business being in this match. The only reason she's there, and this is the only thing, is because Emma got injured about a week ago. It was really it. That's the only reason why she was just pushed into this. They couldn't think of anybody else. I mean, what would have made sense to this is if they had Charles Robinson dressed up as Ric Flair. That made sense. Why did you deviate from that? You know, it caused a distraction which broke the hold, which makes no sense, by the way. They broke the hold from Natalya of the sharpshooter, which caused enough of a distraction for Charlotte to recover, hit the figure eight, and win the title. And it was just like, wow, they really didn't try to keep the continuity right. And it just felt boring. It felt like a boring finish. Like, they could have done it so much better that would have made sense to the storyline that they were doing, but they didn't, which is just disappointing in its own right. And then they just threw another person into it just because they could. So, yeah, I was not happy. And that was pretty much up to this. So we had a lot of good matches leading up to the Ambrose. So, like, the last 3 matches of the night kind of sucked. And this includes the world title match, which was the last match. And that was the one that came after the women's. And it was had decent length. It was much better done than Paybacks. I hated Paybacks. Paybacks had too many fucking stalling moves. It was like, oh yeah, AJ wins by countout. AJ wins by DQ. Restart the match both times. AJ loses. That was Payback. I was like, really? You guys couldn't try to make that a good match? You couldn't give us what we had in Extreme Rules. Extreme Rules was a much better done match because they let anything go. And anything did go. Unfortunately, no blood. In fact, the only blood we seen tonight was the Ambrose match. But yeah, we got back and forth action from Roman Reigns and AJ Styles, and it lasted up till the finish. And the finish, I predicted what was going to happen 5 minutes before the finish actually happened. I knew it was going to be a spear, and I knew it was going to be a 1, 2, 3 move. It was going to be the end. I was just waiting for when it happens. So they fought around the arena. They used steel chairs. They used steel steps. They've used 2 ring announce tables. They used barricades. They tried to use the floor, but they didn't go that far, which kind of sucked. They used steel steps. They used ring posts. They've even used the sign on the ring apron. So yeah, it was a brutal match, but no blood. Again, it really doesn't feel extreme without having the, I don't know, blood coming out of the head or something, you know. That extreme style matches need to have something that looks and feels like that really hurts. You know, and this one didn't quite have that. Reigns tries to go for Superman Punch, only for AJ to shoulder tackle into Reigns' knee. They use that as kind of a build-up that Reigns may not be able to do anything, but no selling it at all because he starts throwing AJ all around, even with a bad knee on him. It really didn't have any continuity. So, at one point, Reigns not only Superman punches, but he also spears AJ, throws him back into the ring, because he does it on the outside. And then the club comes down, Gallows and Anderson, and they hit their boot of doom, and Reigns kicks out. Usos come down, and they super kick the living fuck out of the club and AJ Styles, and then they hit a splash on him, and they put Reigns over the top. Reigns 1, 2, kick out. We move on to Club and Usos just clashing. They try to get in to stop Reigns from getting any upper hands. Reigns hits Superman punches on both of them. AJ gets an advantage. AJ manages to get Reigns distracted long enough to hit Styles Clash the first time, because he does it the second time. And 1, 2 kick out. He gets a steel chair, and he sets it up, hits another Styles Clash on him. 1, 2 kick out. And he decides to go mental and grab the steel chair and just start smashing on the back of Reigns, on the Usos, back to Reigns, back to the Usos, knocking the Usos out of the ring. He sets up Reigns, throws the chair out of the way, he sets up Reigns for the phenomenal forearm, only for Reigns to hit the spear, and that's the finish. And I went, of course they did. I really don't like Reigns right now, and a lot of people don't like Reigns, and there's a lot of reasons for this. Reigns is not over with the crowd. At no point should he be champion. And I mean, he's not over with the crowd in the terms of a babyface. He should be heel, based on the amount of boos he's getting. And even then, I don't think he'd be over with the fan base, with the universe at all. So I don't understand why they keep trying to push him down our throats. I really don't. AJ was set up for success and failed. Because they didn't want to give him the title. We move on to Reigns about ready to celebrate. He looks a little bit battered and hurt, but he starts standing up. Here comes Seth Rollins out of nowhere and hits a pedigree, and that's how we close the night. Rollins has returned. And I'm so happy that he's back, because I used to not like Rollins a year ago. But I did not understand why I didn't like him at the time. And why I should have liked him. At the time, I was thinking, well, he's a heel. I'll chalk it up as I don't really like heels. I'll choose that. Then I realized he's actually good at what he does. If he's making me hate him when he's a heel character, he's doing his job. And he's doing it right. So I'd rather him being a champion than Reigns. So it seems like they're setting up Money in the Bank Rollins, returning Rollins, against Roman Reigns. And whether or not we see Rollins stay babyface, I don't know. Like, he got cheers tonight, which a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's returning. A lot of that also has to do with the fact that people actually like Rollins and not Reigns. So it would make sense for Rollins to win the title back, because he never really lost it. He had to vacate it due to injury. Whether that happens, I don't know. We'll see. We'll definitely see if Reigns holds the title next month at Money in the Bank. I think he is, and I think it's going to be Authority shenanigans, because we haven't seen the Authority in the last 2 months, which is good, because we were tired of that. But I'd like to see like Triple H make a return and cost Rollins the title, because that would make sense considering what they were trying to do previous year, before all that shit happened to his leg. And then let's see. I guess they are all trying to do some other storylines. I don't know what they have planned for Money in the Bank. In terms of the match itself, I expect Ambrose to be a part of it. I also expect Miz and Rusev to be a part of it, because that makes sense to me. But I doubt they're going to put them in there because they have titles already. I do expect like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens to either be a part of it or have their own match. I don't really know. World title wise, I almost expect Cena to be a part of it. Because he's supposed to be back before Memorial Day weekend, which should be tomorrow, if not Thursday, which would be Tuesday really for SmackDown, but Thursday would be the day they air it on television. So I don't know. Money in the Bank's looking like a better card already than tonight's card. I don't know what they're planning with AJ Styles. I think they're going to just say he's no longer going after the title. We're going to put him into the Money in the Bank match, which makes sense. The club, I don't know if they're going to go back against the Usos or if they're just going to go and take on the New Day and try to see if they can win the titles. I don't think they're going after the titles yet. I think they're going to hold the club to the Usos for a little bit, because it seems like they still have stuff left in terms of a storyline for them. But yeah, for now, those are my predictions for the next pay-per-view. I do expect to see Rollins versus Reigns, though, for the title. And that just because it makes sense. But yeah, that's pretty much that. So I hope you enjoyed the minor review, because I went through it and I went pretty quick through this one. There really isn't much to say. I want to keep the Fatal 4-Way more of you should watch it instead of just telling you every single thing that happened. There's a lot that happened too, so a lot of it's not as fresh in my mind as the world title match was. But it was indeed match of the night, and it was such a good match that right now you gotta watch it for yourself. You really do if you're a fan. Weirdly enough, this was The Miz in that match too. The Miz won it, and he was in match of the night, which is weird as fuck. But all in honesty, it should have been Cesaro who won. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, and subscribe down below, and give me feedback. I like to see if I can improve my video for you for quality reasons, and just to make it better for your viewing pleasure. Anyways, have a good night, and we'll see you in the next Loot Crate video, which should be sometime this week. At least 2 of them should be. Anyways, see y'all later.